pick up the screen is flashing something.
This meeting is being live streamed.
Okay.
Yes, excuse me 1 second.
Sorry, folks. While we're being live streamed, we have to get rid of the notice.
All right,
Okay,
and we're back.
we're back, everybody.
So it's really important. Every culture, every tradition, spiritual tradition actually has a house blessing. Whether you're pagan, whether you are Buddhist, whether you're Hindu, whether you are a Christian.
Catholics have a priest come and bless the house
With salt and holy water. There's a whole process. Actually, fun fact about Christianity, which I actually see this paralleling in paganism, you anoint yourself. First you cleanse yourself, then you anoint yourself, and then you do your house blessing. So you can properly consecrate all of the tools and materials that you are working with, right? And I'm not saying this as a Christian, I'm just saying this as a generality. It's really important to also cleanse yourself during a house blessing. And so the first thing we do is we clean, and using, we'll say chemicals like ammonia and so forth to clean out the house is really important. But are there other ways to do house blessings? Yes, crystals is where we're going to get to. And what I wanted to talk about is the house in of itself. One of the really cool things about house blessing, I'm about to unbless the house if I kick my drink over, sorry, is we use sound. Sound is an incredible way to bless a home, to raise vibrational energy.
What do we do New Year's Eve, everyone? We scream,
Yeah.
we bang, we yell, we blow whistles, we pop champagne, we celebrate, we bang pots, noisemakers. Why are we making all that noise? Because
You are clearing out the energies, you're removing the old, and you're opening your home for the new. So step one in any house blessing is always cleaning out the old energies. That means and old energies love to live in corners of houses.
Yeah.
So when we do a house blessing, first of all, you want to start counterclockwise. If you have a 1-room house or a 5-room house, you start counterclockwise, you work your way counterclockwise from the extremes in to the front door. You want to make sure that you pay special attention to windows. Why are windows important? Because spirits can come in through the windows. That's how you put dream catchers in the windows or crystals in the windows in order to protect from negative coming in through the window.
and those feng shui crystals, they're lead crystal, but they're multifaceted because they create rainbows and it fractions. It's like lightning shooting through the negative energy. I love those in the window.
Doesn't love rainbows everywhere.
I know, right?
So it's really important to make sure that you get your windows clean. And yes, you can use a wash, like a lavender-based wash, or you can also, if you do burn incense, you can actually would start smudging your windows first, and then working your way in towards the center and out the front door of your home, right? So you want to get the extremes, and you want to go in through the front. So that's really important. No matter which path that you choose, these are kind of like, we'll say generalities, like rules, archetypical rules to follow when doing a house blessing. And it's always important, if you buy a house, that's the first thing you do is you bless your home. And it can be very simple as throwing salt into the corners and sweeping it out. You can throw in, and you can get your sage and so forth. Now, when it comes to house blessing, I have a special ritual I like to do. Should I go into it?
Yes, of course.
All right. So being an architect, I notice space. Now, with architecture in the Renaissance time, there is a growing theory about the proportions of sound and the proportions of a room. So each room, in certain practices, you would go in and you'd have either a singing bowl or a tuning fork, or you just straight up sit there and sing if you've got that pitch, and get that high vibration going. But then, as an architect, I like to think about, well, what more? Every room has a proportion. Grab your tape measure and you can just figure it out. And that proportion can actually be reduced to a number. That simple proportion you can actually align with the circle of fifths, which is your musical scale and the relationship of the notes with each other. So you can actually find the notation, the note of a room. So if you want to purify a specific space, what I like to do is I like to measure out grab my tape measure, put a little fraction together. If I can't do fractions, that's cool. There's an app for that. And then I can find out what my, we'll say, the tonal proportion is, find out what note it is, and then get that note going. And I'll bang it out. I'll play it on my iPhone. I'll get that high vibration. I'll bring in my little like portable speaker. And
So
again,
you mean like if you find out that you're a note G,
mhm,
your room, you can play the note G
correct.
and it will clear the room.
Yes.
I love this.
Yeah, it's cool.
Now, each note has a planetary correspondence.
Ah, tell us.
I'm going to actually teach a class on that.
Ah, so here we have a future class.
And the color as well.
Color, and we'll talk about
Right.
color in a second in the second step. But we want to get that going. So we have this note. If you guys have ever heard of cymatics, and it is the visualization of sound by using a solid, a series of solid surfaces or fluid surfaces like water, and the vibration of that sound actually creates a grid. So scientifically, what they would do is that they put a tray of either sand or water over a speaker and have that speaker kind of project that sound. Long enough that sound goes, you can start seeing a pattern forming. We'll say that the particles will actually shift and orient themselves into a grid. Keep that in mind. That grid is going to be important. So we can find out what the grid for G is. We can find out what the grid for A is. We can find out the grid for all of the notes of the scale that correspond to each room. So when we're talking about setting up, cleaning these energies, you can just very simply sound clean all of your houses. Now, I got to warn you guys, it's not going to get rid of your dust bunnies.
Or make you coffee, but it's okay. We'll take the house clearing.
So once we have these kind of house, the sounds of the house, the proportions, what you can then do is you can take those grids, and each room would have those grids, would be special to that room. So when you're doing a clearing, you can figure out the note of the room, the planetary association of the room, the color, which we'll talk about in 1 second, and you can also get your grid. That grid, now you can look at your crystals. And when you're starting to clear space and generate, we'll say, an atmosphere to bring in new energy, you can lay out a crystal grid for your both clearing and welcoming intentions.
The major arcana also contains those properties.
Yes.
Yes.
So each major arcana card has a color, a note, and a number.
Really? That is so cool.
Mhm.
I have to ask you all of that.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Yes. Yes.
So there's another class in the making, sitting there in the corner. Our beautiful Rita is also an excellent, not only tarot reader, but she's also does astrology. So we have just like multitudes of talents here tonight. I'm just so excited. But go on, we don't want to take it away from you yet.
Oh no. So
We want to know about the color. Come on.
So each room, and now we're going to get a little practical. When picking your crystals for each room, you got to know what is going on in there. For example, I like rooms that deal with my office space or areas of the house when I deal with office space. What I would use is a lot of black tourmaline. A couple of reasons. And maybe I would use some celestite or some fluorite, or I'll use some blue lace agate. Why? Tourmaline and shungite are actually both amazing for blocking EMF waves, which is the radio waves that kind of come off of your cell phones, your laptops, TV screens, your modems. So it helps kind of block that energy and clear, but also amazing at absorbing negative energy and grounding you. So if you're focused, get that shungite out there. If you need clarity of mind, you can put that shungite with amethyst, some clear quartz. Another one that goes really well would be fluorite if you're a person who has to be on the phone all day. And the same with blue lace agate. I'm on the phone all day.
All right.
Fluorite
And it's
is
great with computers.
amazing. I love fluorite. Excellent stone for communication, air, and mercury, right? All So what's really important is that you lay out your crystal grid, and you can use your cymatic diagram, right? Your mandala, because cymatics basically looks a lot like a mandala of some sort. You can lay it out, and you can place your crystal grid out with the stones that you want. And we can, we'll say as part of, we'll say the workshop, we can talk about specifically which stones go for which rooms and what order and what kind of diagram we're going to look at. So you want to make sure that each room in your house is going to have that, it's going to have those stones in there. It's going to have that letter in there. It has, again, the planetary association. Of course, planetary associations have elemental associations and color associations. So that's one way that
pagan
you can,
architectural feng shui.
Yeah.
If you want to buy a house, you can also design a house like that too, right? You get your notes that you want and you lay them out in the proportions. We talk about that next time when we're talking about the house blessing spell work. I've got a couple cool spells, architectural spells I can share with you guys. And so you have that laid out. A second thing that's really important, bringing in that energy. Now we've kind of set the stage. We have a crystal grid in a prominent part of our home or our room. We can always add additional grids, say in the crystals, usually, say darker ones at the corners of a room or corners of a house or remotely cardinal directions of a house. And you also, when you clean your house, you definitely want to wash those. You want to either bathe them in salt. Certain crystals don't go with water, so smudging, salting them would work. Certain crystals don't go in the sunlight. Others that do, you want to bathe them in the sun to recharge them. And then other ones you can just bless, you can wash
And moonlight.
in moonlight.
I leave mine out in the moonlight. As a matter of fact, early this afternoon, around 1 o'clock, I went outside and it was a clear blue sky like this candle. It was just a baby blue sky, right?
Yeah.
And I looked up and I saw the moon.
Yeah.
You saw the moon
Yeah.
today too? Shining. She is so happy. She was just, hello, I'm here, I'm back.
So let's get practical. Let's take it a notch back down into this world. And I want to talk a little bit about setting up a good space for yourself. Not only do we want to spiritually set up a good home for ourselves or even redo our home, we also need good home hygiene, which is general hygiene. That just doesn't just mean, cleaning and throwing some Florida water with your spray. By the way, never mix chlorine, ammonia, and what was the other one that we didn't want to mix together? There was 3 on vinegar. Never mix any of those 3 chemicals together. You can choose one or the other, pick one week, another week, but never mix them together. Unless you want to end up in the hospital. I'm warning you guys now, so please don't. But what's important is a good living space. Now, I'm a well-accredited professional, and has to deal with the quality of an indoor space. And what does that mean for us? Well, in addition to creating a spiritually powerful space for ourselves, we also have to synergistically provide the physical realm. We have to kind of make your building or make your home manifest this energy. So we look for things like good air quality, good lighting, a good environment, the ability to move around, no clutter, biophilia, which means having lots of plants and things, also very good. Making sure you eat healthy and you drink water. You don't expose yourself to toxic chemicals more than you need to. And you also have quiet space, and a way to kind of create that quietness. So it's really important to think about these aspects of creating a home, not just spiritually, but also live the life that you want to bring into your home. So this is one way of doing it, setting up your home. Another way of bringing in excellent energy is, how many people have heard home is where the heart is? Well, the original saying is home is where the hearth is. And the hearth is a traditional word for the word kitchen. It's actually where, back in the ye olden times, where the family would gather around because they would have a single source for heating, which is the hearth, also fireplace. And that's where they would sit around and then make memories. They would laugh. They'd pass on traditions. They would tell stories, right? So the idea of hearth nowadays would be equivalent to the kitchen. So kitchen witching, all you kitchen witches out there, you are house blessing every single time you are doing something cute with your kitchen. Anytime you're doing something witchy with your kitchen, you are contributing to the perpetual blessing of your home. You want to make a cute dinner for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, your partner. Amazing. That is kitchen witching. That is creating positive, great energies that harmonies.
Harmonies are very important in the emotional part of the home. And that's why if you find that you're screaming and fighting a lot, it's time to pull out the bluing. If there's a lot of arguing going on in the house all the time, whatever floors you can wash them in ice water. Ice the floor. Ice the floor. Chill the house out. It's the hot energies, too much hot energies. You want to calm things down. And then look at what kind of magic you might have been doing too. If you've been doing a lot of heavy work, it'll start to bring that kind of erratic energy into your life, into your home.
Yeah.
And you won't see it right away, it creeps up. Sorry.
No, that's really important. I mean, I'm always a person of less is more. I like to focus on one deity, maybe two, you know. I don't like to have a full house and having a party all day, all night.
I do.
But Rhea loves to have them.
The more the merrier. I find a new deity that wants to help you out. I'm like, oh yeah, baby, hello, come on in, have a seat, let's talk. What can you do for my people?
I personally like to keep a rotation. I've got a couple of, let's say, staples in my home, but everybody else is, and that's okay too. And the reason is, again, it's about, sometimes you just need to clear that energy, right? Every time you work with a new deities, I personally like to clean my house to welcome them in, just like you bring in a guest. You want to clean your home. Now, paint. Paint is very interesting. The way they make paint is actually by crushing crystals, minerals.
I never knew this.
Yes.
It's fascinating to me. We're learning so much.
For example, bluing, the original form of bluing, which is also known as indigo, is actually a copper sulfate. Copper sulfate is actually very toxic. But when you oxidize copper, it turns blue, and that's where the bluing comes from copper sulfate. Modern contemporary practices, indigo, ultramarine, similar colors, those now come from ferrocyanide. Ferrocyanide is an iron-based composition used in blueprints. The blue in the blueprints is actually, once you oxidize, you expose it and you let it oxidize, it actually turns into ferrocyanide. Fun fact. So if you're into the construction arts or you want to draw your future house, we'll talk about that next time, and I talked a little bit about it last time. Ferrocyanide, blueprint paper, sunprint paper is another one. Photograms, that actually is the same thing as the bluing in that cup. That is not photosynthetic though, but nonetheless, because that has already been oxidized and become stable. The interesting thing about that is, again, it has iron in it. The previous version had copper in it, right? All of these, we'll say, elements have magical properties. And that's why when we think about, or our countertops, some of us have the solid surface countertops with little glitters in them. That's Formica, in quartz. They have crushed quartz in them. I am always curious to find out where my materials come from and what's inside them. Why? Because I can leverage them for magic. That's why. I want to know if there's Formica in my countertops. I want to know what kind of quartz you put in there and the admixture, if it's extra sparkly.
What? She does this.
And I'll tell her all about it. She gets these text messages, emails from me like this long, telling her the history. And those of you who know me, when I get really excited about an architectural witchy thing, you get the dissertation.
You get the whole thing. And I've learned so much from her, and this is why we've invited Teacup to come and join us in house blessing. I mean, for it's a no-brainer, of course, with all of her knowledge of architecture. And, you know, she taught me a lot about, like, when we have these conversations about house blessing has a lot to do with earth science, and this is why she's discussing earth science. And now, look, we learned that our walls are actually vibrating with crystal. It has gypsum, which is selenite. And so that means that when we argue a lot, and they say the walls have ears, you ever hear that expression? I think that goes a little bit deeper than someone in the next room listening. I think that means also that it's absorbing the
Absolutely.
negative energy. So if you're constantly angry or talking bad about things, the walls will absorb it and reflect it back to you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
That's why it's important to wash your walls when you're doing, not just your floors.
Yeah.
Part of the ritual is to do your walls as well.
Yeah.
Well, in a lot of Latin traditions, they use rhododendron, lucky leaf. They come and they buy it and they literally beat the walls.
They hit the walls with the rods as you want. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's another house blessing.
Another house blessing is using Florida water. If you guys are fans of the smell of Florida water, which is a very strong smell, you can also do that. You can add in a floor wash. Now, I do want to give a warning for anyone who gets inspired to wash their walls this weekend, or next time they clean their house. If you have plaster like paint on top of your walls, if it's a matte finish, it will absorb and stain your wall. So my recommendation is not to necessarily use, if you're going to do wet, do it along the baseboards, or do it in a spot where you know you're not going to see it. And then kind of more like ritualistically cleanse the walls, or get that Mr. Clean
Sponges.
Yeah, the wall sponges. I have a ton of them, and you can maybe anoint them.
Erasers.
Yep, and then just go through and just get and scrub your walls. I like washing my walls. So
It can be symbolic. It doesn't have to be.
You could take a
Physically.
feather duster and dust down your
It's
wall.
symbolic.
But it's like brushing, sweeping. And you'd be surprised when you do that Swiffer.
Yeah.
You could Swiffer your walls and have the letter G vibrating through it. But it's also the words you say that walls absorb and then they reflect it back. So prayer, chanting, positive, upbeat music, mantra, all of this is house blessing. And tonight we're honoring, like I said, we're honoring Yemiyan, and I'm going to, after Teacup finishes, I'm going to talk about some of the herbs that you can use in house blessing. And one of her herbs, which is my favorite, is spearmint, yerba buena, which is a great fragrance for house blessing. But please continue.
So one of the other, final, we talked about different elements of cleaning, like water-based elements and earth-based elements. And we smudge, so we use high vibration things like Nag Champa. You can use rue if you're into rue. Again, to clean sage,
White sage is
Palo Santo, which is
Palo Santo.
all of these are camphor if you're into burning camphor
Or
blocks.
just a house blessing incense. You like rose.
Yes.
Like they have herbs that remove negativity.
Yeah.
Then you want to use herbs that bring in positive.
Right. So
You just don't want to remove everything. You want to bring in some positive
so
energy as well.
So what I like to do is I usually like to burn incense after I'm done cleaning to welcome in new positive energy. My favorite, again, if you can't find things, get your orange peels, dry them out, right? And then literally just burn them, like set them on fire. And the smell is intoxicatingly amazing.
Yes.
And the energy that comes in from that is fantastic. Bay leaves is another one. You can actually write your petitions on bay leaves, stick them in salt, set it on fire. That's another one to bring in positive energy of what you want into your home. So you can use rosemary. Rosemary is another great one for a house, to bring in positive vibes or good energies and clean out all the bad ones. Lavender. So you always I at least like to burn something after I'm done to make sure that we have kind of both the clearing, which is step one, and then the bringing in, which is what I was talking about, painting your walls or changing things to bring in a color.
Change the furniture around,
Yep.
change the colors, change
Yeah.
the style,
Mhm.
move it around. Even if you pull it out and put it back in the same place you cleaned behind it.
Right. So.
Go ahead, I have another thing on.
Oh, no, go for it.
I also wanted to talk about what we haven't really hit upon, which is baking soda, which is one of my favorite cleansings. And if you burn a pot and you fill it with hot boiling water and throw some baking soda in it, it causes the effervescence to lift the burn. Now, how many pots I've saved just from baking soda, using it just that way. And of course, I love it in a bath because it exfoliates the skin, it removes the negativity. But it can also be used in a floor wash. You could put baking soda in a very hot bucket of water, help it dissolve, not too hot because it'll foam all over the place. But a hot bucket of water, throw a cup of baking soda in there, and you know what? When you wash your floors, they'll be squeaky clean because what it does is it removes oils and grit. It's a great degreaser. A great degreaser. But the other thing
It's
I like,
also good for like rugs.
Yep.
And
that's
if you
what I
want
was
to put
about to
a
talk
couple
about.
of drops of essential oil.
Yep.
And now you're not only cleaning the rug, but now you're putting the essential
Rosemary
oil.
is supposed to be very good for that too because it's an antibiotic or an anti-fungal.
Mm.
So if you're gonna clean carpet, you can mix a little bit of essential rosemary oil.
Fine.
You whip it so that it really mixes in well. You sprinkle it on the carpeting and then you vacuum it.
Yeah.
Thyme is also good for that. It's
Thyme, yeah.
Antifungal. So you can, again, that's like a 2-for-1, right? You got the cleaning and the bringing in.
And also lavender also is an antifungal,
Lavender.
I think.
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway, not important, it's a great fragrance. You can mix lavender in the baking soda, or Arm & Hammer makes a baking soda product specifically for carpets. You buy it, you sprinkle it on your carpet, you wait, you vacuum it, and everything smells very fresh and happy and lively. And it's a good energy because baking soda pulls off negativity. So it's also a highly recommended product for house blessing. They tell you it has 1 million uses, keeps your refrigerator odor free, throw it down your sink, it helps clean your drain.
Because it's a base.
Yeah.
It's good for everything.
Yep.
But you name it, it's good for it.
Be careful when using it on Teflon. Probably not the best. If you're
No.
cleaning a pot and pan that's got stuff on it, don't use Teflon.
Well, the Teflon, if it's stuck to the Teflon shot anyway.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So, but cast iron or steel pots, those are excellent to use baking soda with.
And
I actually learned that from you.
I burned a lot of pots.
I have too.
I turn the heat up too high. It's not that I leave them alone. I have a tendency of making things very hot.
Yes. All right. Yeah. So what other herbs?
Spearmint. So you can get fresh basil, fresh rosemary. You can get them dry. Any of the herbs I'm mentioning. You could buy spearmint tea bags if you can't find fresh spearmint, and soak them and drain them and put that into the floor wash. But yerba buena is one of the herbs of Yemaya, and which is spearmint. It is so refreshing and so high a vibration. It makes everything feel like alive, highly happy. So I like using fresh, but what you do is you break the fresh herb up in a bucket of cold water with your hands like this and let it sit. Let it let the oils of the broken herb drain into the cold water. Maybe an hour later, you come over, you grab the fresh herbs, you drain it again like this, you squeeze it, and then you throw them out in the garbage because you've taken out what you need. Now you dispose of what's left. Then you can add your ammonia, your Florida water, any kind of other kind of cologne 1800 I like using the sandalwood colonia, the naranja, the orange cologne, rose water, lavender water, and any kind of water. You can add spring water, holy water. You can add all kinds of waters, and then mop your house with this. It is totally amazing, and you can add baking soda to that. But this is for the blessing, the refreshing, the clear, not just the clearing, but the protection. Because now it's like this high wall of good, powerful energy that protects, that shields the house. What you would not add to that kind of mixture would be salt, because salt only goes with the cleansing, the bitter herbs. Spearmint, that's a sweet herb. You don't put salt with sweet. That's a funny combination. So I like that one. I like rosemary. I like oregano. Oregano is another good power cleanser that's used. And all these herbs are always available. Most times, your supermarket where they have their fruits and vegetables have all of these fresh herbs and sage. Sage is also not just the white sage we burn, but green sage is very powerful for spiritual cleansing and protection. Beautiful.
You actually have a question. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't know if you were about to talk. You look like you were about to because you're passing the. I was just like,
I was looking to how to talk. But
so,
go ahead.
Tayesh Harris has a question for us. Do you want to say it out loud, or do you want me to read it?
Hi, sure, I'll say it out loud. Hi. What do you feel
Hold on.
Read it.
I'm gonna read it because I can't hear you. Is that
Oh,
I
cool?
think
sure.
that when you put this on,
Okay.
you must have hit the button.
All right, let me see if I can avoid the.
Volume.
All right, give me
On the phone.
1 second.
We gotta check the volume on the phone, folks. I'm sorry. There we go.
All right, try again.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, hello.
Hi, darling.
Hi, Rhea.
Blessed be and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Earlier, I have two questions actually. Earlier, you mentioned writing above the door, and my question was, what do you feel about putting mezuzahs on your doorpost?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week. As a matter of fact, she mentioned the mezuzah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an excellent.
Yeah.
That's an excellent choice.
Okay, thank you for that.
Every culture has its thing. So if you are drawn to mezuzah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of apartments, have them when you go to rent a new apartment, and it has the mezuzah because a family lived before they put one up, and
Mhm.
they leave them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them have magical scrolls inside.
Mhm.
That's a wonderful thing to put on your door. Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. And then if you wanted to, can your house, you talked earlier about the colors. Like if you actually have a physical, like a real house, I live in a house, Lady Rhea and I were talking about it. And you were talking about the colors briefly. Can you expand a little bit more on the colors? For example, my house is now painted blue. I think you mentioned a variation of blue earlier, but I was wondering, do you recommend staying with, for example, my I have a leak, like a leak in the roof, so they want to now cover it and make it white, completely white, which I was a little nervous about. Are there certain colors that you should stay away from, that you should gravitate? What's your opinion on that?
I typically like to go with lighter colors. If a red, do a sunny and happy red, right? I don't typically do dark colors inside the home. And I'm a fan of we'll say darker colors for certain things like furniture, sure. Everyone loves a good stain on their wood. But the walls I like to keep a lighter color. What color really depends on what you want for yourself. White isn't a bad color. Blue is good for protection and cleansing. Blue, the color of bluing blue, the darker blue, that one is what blue paint and the blue of the doors like that you see in like the Greek homes for protection, which are actually from the evil eye, the color of the evil eye talismans, which are designed to protect your home. Lighter blues can be also healing, like emotionally healing as well. So again, it really depends on or calming. Lavender is a very soothing color. Good
Or
for
you don't even have to do the whole room.
yeah, it could
In
just
one color, you could have like a focus room or
feature wall. Yeah.
yeah, whatever, or what do you call that? Accents.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be the whole room.
Right.
Yeah. Let your spirit guide you.
Mm-hmm.
This room we're sitting in here, the parlor of enchantments, is gold. And it's a small room, so you wouldn't think that I would have chosen gold, but it also has, you cannot see, is a dark blue sky with stars in it.
Mhm.
So it's actually was designed by a Buddhist concept of breathing in golden light and releasing the negative energy into the clear, empty night sky above us. So this room was designed from this concept, and the color gold here has made the room very warm, it's a very magical room.
Yeah.
But this was designed to be a reading parlor, which it is, and an altar space. So that's why it was done in this color.
I love it. I love that. I have one more question, but I'll wait until someone else asks and come back.
Oh, you can ask your next question, then I'll take the next person.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. If you want to attract a relationship, so the person that lived here before me, she was with her child, and then toward the end, right before she sold it to me, she was here for like 30 years, and then she was married. So then I've lived here for 17 years, and I'm not in a relationship or anything. So my question is, how do you attract a is there something you can do to attract a relationship home wise, or what would you recommend?
There are certain relationship corners.
Yeah,
Rita, you got this.
There's also like even when you clean your home with intention, you want to bring love into your life. There are different love herbs or even prepared crystals that you can buy in the store and do washes like that, and you can attract that kind of energy into your home.
What about
You have sugar jars. I mean, there's a whole
Honey jars.
honey jars.
tarot?
Magic, you can do a little spread out there, the spread.
And find out where your relationship corner is by having it looked at a bakwa, feng shui.
Mhm. There are
And
so
in that
many
corner,
ways.
you place 2 peonies or a pair of ducks.
Should always be in pairs.
Yes. I happen to like the chicken and the rooster
Okay.
look for that too, like the male and female look.
Even when you serve
2
dinner,
butterflies.
do another plate.
Yeah.
Do another
Yes.
setting.
Yeah.
You're bringing another person into your sphere. So there are so many ways to manifest love in your life.
Also, don't forget, most of the time, if you do witchcraft or you burn candles from Lady Rhea, you place it somewhere in your house. That is the physical act of using your home that you find your most sacred corner, and you are bringing all that energy in there.
Mhm.
I like
A love altar in your bedroom.
Rita also suggested is a plate. When she said that, I got a vision of taking an enchanted love candle, setting out a dinner plate, putting the candle on the dinner plate, and every night while you're sitting there having dinner, you talk to the candle
Yeah,
and tell it what you want it to bring you. Write a letter of intention and put it underneath the candle on the plate and surround it with chocolates and crystals
mhm.
and manifest love. There's so many different ways. This is what voodoo is like it gives you so many different ways of practicing and making manifestation by creating visual concepts. I don't worship the statue, I
Right.
worship her.
Right.
The energy.
It's her energy. And isn't this a beautiful one? I love this statue of Yamiya.
Yeah. This is, you can't find these statues of her anymore. With
Yeah,
the bare
bare
breasts,
breasts,
you can't
yeah.
find them anymore.
This was the first edition, then they changed it after that. So do we have any more questions?
We do. Samara D wants to, do you want to say it out loud or do you want me to read it?
Hey, Samara.
I guess I'll read it out loud. And Samara asks, if I write something on top of my door with bluing, what would you recommend that I write? It's a very good question. First thing I would ask you is, and this is a personal question, you don't have to answer it, but how do you do your spiritual, what you do? And that, first of all, will kind of give you your pantheon that you might want to work with, or kind of the modality that you want to work with. Again, if you're a Santero, you do some crosses on the door. I have a neighbor who's a Santero, and she does her house blessings with her legua, and then I can always tell when she does it because there's always 3 crosses done in Cascaria on her front door. You know, it depends. I personally like to do Lady Rhea seals because Lady Rhea is one of my heroes. So, you know, I like her house
She'll
blessing
live on the
seal.
way home.
She vindicated herself.
I didn't realize we were still keeping tabs on this.
I have a home sweet home needlepoint that it actually belonged to my mother, that her neighbor gave her. Mrs. O'Grady. She gave it to my mom, and then I inherited it, I guess. So I have that. But sigils are a good thing to
Yeah.
put. Like, what is it that you want? The thing is, what is it that you want to draw into your home?
Right.
And it's not going to stay there forever because your needs change.
Right.
So if you're having you know, financial problems, you might want to do something financial. If you're having love problems, what are your needs? And that's what you would put up there.
Yeah. I would also, again, if you live in a place where you can't be out about what you do, use Cascaria on a white door. No one's going to see it. It's white chalk on white door. You know, or a pencil, if you have a gray door, pencil. You can also do it on the underside of the lintel. There's certain traditions that burn sigils into, or you know, Orthodox. At Easter, people take the candles from church, which are these like special honey candles, and they burn crosses into the lintel because it's like what they, you know, it's like the blood marking the lintel of the door, so that you know, we'll say the angel of death wouldn't come and take you away. And I think that's, you know, it's been passed down. So, but you don't have to do a cross if that's not the way you pray. You know, you can do whatever other sigil that you want that means something to you on the underside of your lintel as well. So if you live somewhere where you don't want your neighbors to see that you want a house blessing, you can actually do it on, so the door has the head of the door and the sides of the door, which are the jamb, have a return, like the doorstop, which is that little piece that sticks out. The way I like to do it, if people can't see if I don't want people to see the front side of the lintel or the top of the face of the frame of the door, I actually do it to the outside or to the exterior facing portion of the door, of that door frame. Right, so it's like underneath you and facing outwards if I want to keep something out, and inside if I want to bring something in. but it's on the underside of the lintel as opposed to at the face of on the door jamb itself, or the door frame itself. That's what I would recommend if you want to, but again, what you do, a sigil that means a lot to you for what you want. And if you don't know, if you don't have a tradition, use Lady Rhea's sigils. I use them for like everything. I mean,
The Seals of Solomon.
Seals of Solomon are a great classic one. Read up on them before you use them. Some of them may not be your vibe, others may be your vibe. If another good one is draw your crystal grids, right? Your seeds of life, your Metatron's cube, your tree of life. You can draw that on that. You can do a simple pentacle.
What were you saying? I'm sorry, excuse me. What you were saying earlier was CMB. What does that mean?
Something.
Okay, you can do that.
Yeah,
You could write the number of the psalm.
Yep.
Certain numbers are very powerful, like 33,
23, yeah.
11.
Yep.
Certain numbers, sequences, moons going in, waxing, full, and waning.
Yep.
The set of 3 moons.
That's nice.
3 stars.
Yep. The CMB actually has 4 crosses on it, FYI, just so you know. So what does a CMB mean? I had to Google it because I don't want to leave you guys hanging. I mean, it says Christos Mansonum Benedicat. Basically means God bless this house. Also, people who work with saints use Saint Benedict for house blessings and cleanings. So if you work with the saints, you can actually work with Saint Benedict to clean your house and bless your home.
Saint Michael.
And Saint Michael.
Oh,
Saint
yeah.
Michael's a big one. Everyone loves Saint
Sure,
Michael. If you want to bring healing into your home, bring in Saint Raphael.
Raphael.
If you want to bring in good communication, bring in Metatron. He is the archangel of communication. He's the ledger keeper.
And Gabrielle.
Gabriel as well. If you're, if you want to bring kind of illumination or intellect, or Uriel is
my favorite. I love Uriel for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
we're buddies.
and also just so you know, it's CMB is 20 crucifix C, crucifix M, crucifix B, crucifix 18. Right. So just so you know, CMB also has been linked to the names of the initials of the 3 wise men. So again, they came with myrrh, frankincense, and gold. P.S. Gold is actually copal. Copal oro is another name for it, or short name for it was gold. So another way of blessing your house, you can smudge your house with copal, frankincense, and myrrh.
I use copal.
They have the
all the time.
oils.
Yep.
I was burning copal today, as actually I like a cauldron outside my door, and I was burning copal and lavender. And one of the reasons why I cannot burn it inside is because it sets off the fire alarm, like I did here during one show.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was. What is that?
I was upstairs. I'm like, what is that? And I'm looking. I'm like, it didn't occur to me that it was down here. The house could have burned down. The fire alarm is off, and I'm like,
We
what's
didn't
going
know.
on?
So
Now we know.
yeah. So if you have that issue, then purchasing sprays and Febreze and all these different and fragrant candles will and stick incense. If you're only using 1 or 2 sticks, it's not going to set off your smoke alarm.
Just have a fan handy.
Yeah.
Another thing I do, if you don't want to burn incense, if we want to diffuse it, I'll take my stick incense and actually scrape it up, like take it off, and like maybe just like use a mortar pestle and kind of get it into a powder form, and actually sprinkle it on my candle. So as like a tea light lights up and the wax heats up and becomes liquid, the heat actually will also do a subtle release of the smells
Yes,
without
of course.
without
diffusers.
Yeah.
Diffusers are like
I love them.
excellent. I
Yeah.
love diffusers, wax melters, all of those apparatus. But my favorite diffuser is truly one with a tea light and oil and water, and also
I love them.
that this vessel of water, any vessel of water that you have, can have a few drops of oil in it and float some flower heads, or put some Florida water in the water with some flower heads. And you can take your fingers and just sprinkle around. Just that fragrant bowl of water is just purifying all the time. And also, singing is very good. Mantra, bells, singing bowls, tones, all very clearing. When I do any of the Lakshmi or Ganesha, any of the rituals, I'm always hitting the cymbals or a bell to raise the vibration. And it's also, it's written into the ritual, ring 7 times, ring 8 times, ring 5 times. So it's always written in too. So
That's actually different though than the bell clearing or
Yes.
sound clearing, right? So you can actually do two things. If you're doing just the sound cleaning, you can clean using the sounds the way that we talked about earlier, and then you can come back with a little bell and you can ring the bell for the deity right there to bring them in, right? So okay, the house is clean, bad energy's out, bring in new energy. Fun fact about water and Florida water with rose petals or rose heads. We actually, Rita and I went to Santa Muerte ritual, and like they made us, as the minute that we walked in the door, they made us wash our hands, or they, and washed our hands for us with Florida water and roses at the door. So again, back to this whole idea, when you walk into your house, what you do, you run to the first sink and you got to wash your hands. Most important now with with the pandemic and everything. And so what's really important about that is it's this idea of ritual cleaning. I went with my aunt to church when I went to visit her, and the first thing that they have is a big old bowl of holy water that you're supposed to anoint yourselves. If you go to a mosque, when I went to a mosque when I was in India and I went to a mosque, they make you clean your your nostrils, your feet, your hands before stepping foot into in a river, or it's like a trough of running water. But you have to clean your hands and you have to clean yourself before you enter the house. So this idea of ritual cleaning is really, really important, just to bring it back. Copal, also favored by Santa Muerte for special favors.
So she just said about wash your hands. And now, and she's a DJ, by the way, on the side. So we're going to bring up the Stevie Wonder song. Very superstitious.
Right now.
Wash your face and hands is the line, the beginning line of the song. So very superstitious. So this it's a common expression. Wash your face and hands. So when something is superstitious, you want to wash it off yourself. And he was bringing up his cultural background, very superstitious, great song.
That's actually we'll say a Slavic hill people thing too. When you have bad dreams, first thing you do if you wake up in the middle of the night, that's cool. Run to the bathroom, get cold water, splash it on your face, and just keep saying, "Wash away the bad, keep all the good. Wash away the bad, keep all the good." If you don't wash in your face, you're going to run back to bed. But that's that's what my people do too.
So, yeah, I thought when she was talking about it, that I remembered that line. I'm a big Stevie Wonder fan. I remember that line right away. Very superstitious. Wash your face and hands. 13-month-old babies. But you see, now the Italians, we consider the number 13 very lucky. So it depends on your culture.
Yeah.
So do we have any more questions before we close for the night? What time is it?
It is 9:20.
Yes, we're going to be closing in a few minutes. So I want to remind everybody, if you're interested in any of the talismans that we blessed last week, there's still some available. Text me at 718-892-5350. And now I have a special announcement to make. Starting the last week of June, around June 29th, actually on June 29th, I'm going to be going back into the public at a store in the Bronx called Leroy. It's a Botanica on East Chester Road. And I'm going to start being available in the public again. Not like to see me here, you had to make an appointment to see me. There, you could just walk in the store and see me and say hello, get a reading. My candles will be there at that location. My candles are also available at EV Florist
In the East Village,
in the East Village on East 10th Street.
yes, and First Avenue.
And my candles are, of course, also available in Clifton, New Jersey at Botanica San Mastro. And so I'm just spreading on out there. So I will be available there. And I'm hopefully down the road also, Vita Sagara will be joining me there on another weekday. I'm only going to be there Monday and Tuesday, but it's exciting to be back out in the public again. I haven't been in the public eye like that in 5 years, so I'm excited.
What
It's
are your
something
hours gonna
different.
be?
I'm gonna be there from like 12 to 5, 12 to 6, yeah. But it's exciting, and they'll be on Monday and Tuesday, so I wanna make sure everybody remembers next week, we are going to be talking about money, house, blessing, spells. Yes, all the things you can do to bring money into the house, deities that bring money into the house. So it should be really fascinating. And is there any more questions tonight before we close? No?
All right.
Well, I have one question for all of you. How do you like tonight's event? That's sweet.
That's so cute.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Text me, let me know how you enjoyed the event. And also, the Enchanted Cafe is always interested in hearing from you. What type of events and talks you would like to have coming up after Money House Blessing. I'm going to be coming on with Daisy Orsini, our Aphrodite, and we're going to be having an event talking about glamour and seduction rituals. But stay tuned for next week. We will be having Money House Blessing on the Enchanted Cafe. We want to thank you all for joining us. We bid you hail and farewell. Blessed be, and I'll see you next week with my gang.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Blessed
Thank
be.
you.
Blessed be.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Spread the word.